setting up the whole pace for the show that we're going to do right now. So thanks everybody, and so let me go ahead and share my screen. So before that, let me just check my goal. Till what time can I go on?
Sir,
till what time, ma'am?
Yeah, 3:15, sir.
All right, great. Thanks, ma'am.
Up to you, sir. No issues.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. All right. Ma'am, are you able to see my screen? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you. So without much ado, let's get into this whole topic of goal setting, being organized and focused, right? I would love some nice interaction from the student. Though it's a post-launch session. I just want to know whether you guys are there and you show me your faces and motivate me so that I can also help you get motivated and set some goals and see how we can get organized and get focused with accomplishing your goals. Is that clear? Anybody can say a yes? Yeah. Can we hear some response?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, except definitely because you're the part of the organizing team. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me see what I can help you with today. Well, I'm going to start with this is going to be the lineup of what we're going to be learning today. I'm going to give you a little prelude on goal setting and its importance. We have two psychologists, Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, who give you three views on goal setting. So I'm going to share what the experts have to say about goal setting and why it's important for each one of us to set goals. We'll break into a small self-assessment, right? It's always nice to introspect and see, are we good goal setters or is there some room for improvement? Can we do something much better than what we're doing right now? So let's do a small assessment. It's going to be a checklist kind of a question. I've got some 18 questions. All that you need to do is read the statement and then answer with a yes or a no. And later on, we'll see how good we are doing in terms of setting goals. Third, I'm going to help you to know what are the types of goals that you can set, what's the time range in which you can set some goals. And then I'm going to also explain to you how to set goals and then where goal setting can go wrong. A lot of us do set goals, but the only problem is we aren't able to keep it. We aren't able to achieve. We write some very interesting goals, but very often we see we lose track somewhere midway or down the line. So let's find out what happens and why people who set goals aren't able to accomplish. And then, very importantly, it's all about being organized. Setting goals or writing some plans and having some strategy in terms of how we can achieve or what we want to achieve, it's all pretty easy. But most of the times, as I said, we lose track in terms of getting ourselves anywhere closer to the goal is because we often are very, very disorganized. And very often we aren't able to manage time. And that's where we're going to talk about how to get organized, how to get focused, and then also how to manage time, which is a very important resource when it comes to achieving your goals. Overcoming distractions and procrastinations are considered to the main spoilers of you achieving your goals. So we're going to see how we can overcome some of these distractions and all those delays and postponements that we keep doing very often when we have to go ahead and achieve our goals. And then finally, we're going to look at some 11 strategies on how we can get to be more focused. Okay, so that's the agenda, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Are you guys game for it? Yes, shall we go and set some good goals?
Yes, sir.
Okay, again, Jeffin again. Okay, can I get somebody else to say, yes, sir, we're looking forward? I have some 200 people, yeah, come on. Hello. You can type something in the chat. I'm also able to see something on the chat. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's nice. That's encouraging. Kevin, thanks. Kevin, anybody else other than Kevin? Give me a yes quickly. All right, thank you. So that should be okay to start with. All right. Okay, we all do set goals. So let's look at what's so very important about setting goals, right? So goal setting involves the development of an action, which is basically you have some destiny that you want to reach. There is some big dream that you have or some aspiration that you have that you want to achieve. So something basically that motivates you to reach a particular destiny or reach a particular end point is what we call as a goal, right? Goals are more deliberate. It doesn't happen very unconsciously. You know what you want to achieve. Your dream is your dream. So when you dream something and you want to achieve it, you know what exactly your dream is all about and what is that you want to fulfill. And when you set goals, it's also pretty intentional. You know what this goal is all about. Like for example, you might say, I want to get my, I want to clear my, final year with a distinction. That's a goal. Or you might say, I want to top the class in this particular course. That's a goal. Or you want to say, I want to become rich and famous. That's a goal, right? Or I want to finish my assignment within the next 3 days. Now that's a goal. So every act that you propose to do is very intentional, and you know your goal and you know when and where and how you would want to achieve it. So nothing is by accident. So setting goals means that you are going to commit yourself, because just merely setting goals or merely dreaming or merely deciding that this is what I want to achieve is not going to take you anywhere unless and until you are able to commit your whole self. You got to put your body, mind, heart, and soul and shoes completely into the action of trying to achieve a goal. So merely having a goal or merely writing a statement or writing a plan is not going to help you unless and until you are ready to act to see that you would want to do something to achieve your goal. Okay, so what do the experts have to say? Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, 3 important valid points that they want to talk to you and tell you about what is that you should be doing with goal setting. So difficult specific goals lead to significantly higher performance. That's according to their study, that when you set goals and you strive to achieve it, you will very often be able to reach it, and that gives you a whole lot of satisfaction. So they say it's better to have goals, right? Specific goals rather than not having goals or having goals that are very easy for you to achieve. So when you set a goal, remember it is something that should make you strive for it. It should not be something that you set very easily and say, I've done with my goal setting and I've achieved it and it's so easy to do it. So it shouldn't be like that. Your goal is something that should be aspirational. Your goal is something that should try to bring out the best out of you, that you should be able to achieve it only after a certain amount of effort. So always set goals that are slightly superior than what you can very easily achieve, because when you achieve those goals, that sense of satisfaction that you have, the sense of psychological joy or the kick that you get is much more accomplishing. And when you do that, you'll obviously start going on to set more goals because you love the kind of experience that goal setting and achieving that goal has given you. What is the second thing that they say? Holding ability constant and giving that there is goal achievement. The higher the goal, the higher the performance. So that's exactly, it's going to be like a wheel that is going to move. You set one goal and then you achieve that goal. You get a sense of achievement, accomplishment, satisfaction, and then you reset another higher order goal. So when you reset a higher order goal, you put yourself completely into the action, and you pull out all your resources, and then you go and achieve it. So once you start achieving it, you start setting a higher order goal. So this cycle of achieving goals is going to be constant. And as you continue to keep rolling on, trying to achieve one goal after another, and then you set a higher order goal, and then you go on achieving it, automatically the sense of accomplishment also continues to increase. And you will also be motivated to set higher level goals. And what's also happening as a result is your performance, your result, your productivity is going to increase, right? And whatever you wanted to achieve is definitely going to be your way if you are able to set your goals and put your mind and heart in achieving it. Variables such as praise, feedback, or the participation of people in decision making about the goal only influence the behavior to the extent that they lead to setting off subsequent commitment to a specific difficult goal. So one question that I would want to ask, so when you set goals, right, so very often we give up on trying to achieve it. We start off doing it, but after a few days we lose motivation and we lose momentum. So why does that happen? right? That most often happens is because we're not motivated enough, or there is nobody who's there to, tell us to go ahead and achieve it, or nobody is there to keep checking and to find out whether what we are doing with our goal. That's because very often we don't share our goals with others and nobody is aware of it. So very often it is something that we try to do it with ourselves. So it's always important, right, that you receive praise, you receive feedback, and you should also have somebody who's like an accountability manager who's going to come and ask you, I remember you talking about this particular goal. What have you done with that? Right? What is your improvement? What is your progress? So you want somebody to always come and check on you or maybe give you a reminder. It's very important, and always have, a support system. That is what Edwin Locke and others would say, that when you receive praise for some small milestone or a target that you have achieved, or when you receive feedback from somebody with whom you shared your goal, and then you later on go and share the progress of what you have done, and when they appreciate that achievement of yours and they tell you, wow, it's wonderful, what you've done is good, go ahead and continue, getting that final, reaching that final destination. So it all makes you really feel good. So it's very important, because goal setting and goal achievement is a psychological process. Now, this is something that is not just something that you create as a dialogue within yourself, where you set goals and you act in order to achieve that goal, and then you receive a sense of satisfaction, right? Along with that being a very intra-personal affair, if you can bring in maybe a set of people around you, maybe you can talk to your family, your friends, or your mentors, and you share your goal and also make them a party to the goal setting and the goal achievement process. That really will be of much help, because that's where you can receive praise, feedback, and appreciation, right? So those are the three views that Edwin Locke and Gary Latham talk about. Okay, so if you want to do that, if you want to be good goal setters, and if you want to organize yourself so that you are able to bring in all the resources that you want to implement and achieve your goal, and then also to stay focused, right? So three things that you need. One is you need to plan, right? Merely having a goal or a target is not going to help you to accomplish. You have a goal or a target which is like an end point that you want to achieve. Right now, the big question is, how are you going to do it? And that is where you need to spend some time to know, how am I going to achieve this goal? Right now, I gave you a couple of examples. I said, if you have this goal and say that I want to clear my final year with a distinction, right? So I want to get a distinction. So it's not going to happen. That's just the goal. That's just a target that you want to achieve. But what plans are you going to make in order to make sure that you reach your destination, that you want to get your distinction? Or you want to say, or you have a goal that I want to, I want to be the topper in this particular course. So what plans are you going to make in order to become a topper? Or you want to say, I want to clear campus placement so that I get a good job in a multinational company in Bangalore, right? If that's your goal, so how are you going to do it? So it's always better that you apply your mind and then be able to come up with a plan that's going to help you to achieve this particular goal. Now, having set a plan, you need to constantly go back and check. You need to constantly go back and monitor to see what's happened with that particular plan. You had a schedule, right, where you put up a particular time plan and said that I'm going to do this at this time and I'm going to do this within these many days. Now, have you done that? But that's what a plan is all about. So you go back and monitor, you go back and check your progress, and then you see where is that I need to pull my socks up, and then I have to increase my momentum, right? Or you say, I'm doing pretty well according to my plan. So you pat your back and say, wow, we're doing good, right? So monitoring. And the third thing is evaluating. So evaluating will basically help you to keep check of your progress, and then know whether you're doing well, or whether you need to increase momentum, or whether you need to rewrite some of the way you've managed your plan. Because a lot of times what happens is the plans that we set don't really work the way we want. Sometimes circumstances change or time schedules change where we have no control over something. So if you want to make a change in the plan, you can still go and do that with respect to your, when you reach that stage of evaluation, and then you see that you want to bring in some change in the planning process, you can do that. So this is going to be a constant process. That's why you set goals, and then you've got to go back and plan, monitor, and you need to evaluate. Only then will you be able to make sense of what you are doing and whether you are well ahead in terms of reaching your goal. So it's very important that you start inculcating this as part of your goal setting as well as your goal implementation process. Okay, let's do a small self-assessment. Okay, so let's check and see, right, how good are we in terms of goal setting. So all that I want you to do is, I want you to take a book or a paper that you have and take a pen so that you write question number 1. You don't write the statement, just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's enough, right? Because that writing 18 statements will take a long time, right? This was actually a 5-point rating scale. This assessment is on a 5-point rating scale, but I wouldn't want you to do that. So all that I want you to do is, I've reframed the questions in such a manner where you can only answer it with a yes or a no. Okay, so I'm going to have the first statement come up. The first statement is, I see lots of goals in the hope that I will achieve some of them. Okay, I see lots of goals in the hope that I will achieve some of them. Read the statement, see what it makes sense, what sort of sense it makes to you. Answer it with a yes or a no. I see lots of goals in the hope that I will achieve some of them. Your answer should be either a yes or a no. Okay, that is statement 1. What's your second statement? I find that my targets are too ambitious. Do you find your targets being too ambitious? Statement 2 is, I find that my targets are too ambitious. Statement 3. If I'm struggling to meet a goal, I set sub goals to renew my motivation. If I'm struggling to meet a goal, I set sub goals to renew my motivation. That's statement 3. Statement 4. I don't celebrate success until I've achieved a goal. I don't celebrate success until I've achieved a goal. Okay, those are 4 statements on slide 1. You're answering this with a yes or a no. If you've finished answering for the 4 statements, you can just type a yes in the chat window and I'll know I can move to the next slide. Okay, yes. Chris says yes. Zoya says yes. Kevin says yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Good. So that's good feedback. Yeah. So let's go to statement 5. I tie my work-related objectives to personal ambitions. I tie my work-related objectives to personal ambitions. Statement 6. I set low standards so that my goals are easy to meet. Are you somebody who sets low standards so that your goals are easy to be met? Number 7. I don't ask for support from friends and colleagues if I become demotivated. Statement 8. I celebrate my success when I hit my targets, and I thank people who helped me. So those are another 4 statements on slide 2. Answer this with a yes or a no. If you finished, please type a yes in the chat window. Okay. Let's go to the next statement, statement number 9. I think about my boss or family wants me to achieve when I set personal goals. I think about what my boss or family wants me to achieve when I set personal goals. So you can always replace the boss with your faculty, your head of the department, or anybody for that matter, whoever's your boss right now. So I think what my boss or family wants me to achieve when I set personal goals. Number 10, I regularly monitor how I am doing so that I can measure how well I'm progressing towards my goals. I regularly monitor how I am doing so that I can measure how well I'm progressing towards my goals. Statement 11. My personal values aren't relevant to my work-related objectives. My personal values aren't relevant to my work-related objectives. Number 12, I don't set an end date for achieving my goals so that I give myself plenty of time. I don't set a deadline. That's what it means. I don't set an end date for achieving my goals so that I give plenty of time for myself to achieve it. So those are another 4 statements on slide 3. Answer them with a yes or a no. And if you finish doing it, please type a yes in the chat box. Okay. 13, I seek out tools that help me to reach my goals. I seek out tools. I seek out tools that help me to reach my goals. Now, tools could mean any sort of, it could be a planner, it could be an app, or it could be some timetable that you've written, or a to-do list, anything for that matter. 14, when I make new plans, I reflect on my existing commitments to make sure that I don't take too much than what I can do. When I make new plans, I always cross-check that with my older plans to make sure I will take only what I can actually accomplish. That's 14. 15, if I fail to meet a target, I move on without reflecting on what went wrong. If I miss a goal, if I miss a deadline, if I miss achieving a target, I just simply forget and I keep moving on. Are you somebody who does that? A yes or a no should be an answer. All right, number 16, I look for ways to build goals into my daily life by developing new habits. I look for ways to build goals into my daily life by developing new habits. So that's 4 more on slide 4. Your answer should be a yes or a no. And if you complete it, you can always type a yes in the chat box. So those are 16 statements for which you should have a yes or a no. So if you finished, yeah. Yes, sir, done, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Let me see more number of yeses. All right, wonderful. I hope that is the sample of the others as well. Okay, so I've got 2 more statements and then we'll finish with the self-assessment. Got question number 17 coming your way. I get excited by new ideas and I flit from goal to goal without achieving anything. I get very excited every time new things come up. So I keep moving picking up those new things as they keep coming my way. That's number 17. And I have the last question. I enjoy planning how to achieve goals, but then get bored by the mundane work of delivering them. I love setting goals, but it's very boring to go and achieve. Okay, so that's 18 statements. If you answered for all the 18 statements, irrespective of whether it's a yes or a no, then it's a great job. Pat yourself for having completed this test. All right. So have you done it? Just put a yes again in the chat box so that I know you completed the test. All right, wonderful. So if you've done it, all that you need to do is total the number of yeses and nos. Total the number of yeses. How many yeses have you got out of 18? And then type that in the chat. Out of 18, give me a number and say, okay, 8 yes and 10 no's. Good. 8 yes and 10 no's. But I have some 250, 60 odd people here. Yeah, that's 14 yeses and 4 no's. Oh, that's wonderful. 14 yes and 4 no's. Type in, let's see some response. Okay, 9 yeses and 9 no's. There were 2 like that, I guess. Yeah, 9 yes and 9 no's, 9 and 9, 11 and 7, 12 yeses, maybe 6 no's, 12 yes, 11 yes, 7 no's, 9 yes, 9 no's, 6 no's, 6 yeses, 9 yes, 9 no's, 10 yes, 8. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I think more or less. Okay, if you've got more yeses, what's the answer? If you've got more yeses, it means you are doing pretty well on the goal setting part. Okay, which means if you're getting more than 10, 11 yeses, I think that should be fairly good enough, moderate. But if you're getting like more than 14 yeses, okay, if you're getting more than 14 yeses, that looks like you're doing extremely great. You're a champion when it comes to goal setting. Okay, so the areas that you've written no's, and I know some of these statements are also, are familiar what you wrote no for, and there are, looking by your answers, I know those are only a minimal of no's. So look at why you said no, and then see what you can do in order to improve upon. Maybe at the end of it, when we go with the line and the flow of the presentation, so we will be able to understand what is that we can do with those set of no's. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go see and what is that we can do. Okay, why do we need to set goals? Because goals help us to stay in focus, and they help us to stay in control. So it helps you make choices, right? It helps you make choices because you have something that you want to go ahead and achieve. Goals are extremely motivating. As I told you, there's a lot of psychological joy that you get when you achieve. You set a goal, you set a target, and you achieve it. The kind of sense and the kind of happiness that you get is really good. What are the types of goals? We generally set 3 types of goals. We generally call them as short-term goals, medium-term, and long-term goals. And these are the 3 set of goals that you're supposed to be having anytime. Anybody can ask you, what's your immediate goal? What are you working right now? You should have an answer. What's your long-term goal? Like, for example, this is quite a familiar question. I'm sure many interviewers, who were interviewing you when you were joining for this particular course, would have asked you this question. What is it you want to become 5 years from now? Right? Where do you want to see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Right? So you would have definitely given an answer. That's your long-term goal. If you're looking at a time span of more than about 5 years. But if you're looking at something around 2.5 years and say within about 2 years, this is what I plan to do. But that should be your medium-term goal. If you're in the first year right now and then you have another 2 years to go, or you're in the second year right now and you have another 1 year to complete your course, then that's supposed to be a medium-term goal if you have something that you want to do right after you complete your graduation. Short-term is something that you're planning to do next week, right? Something that you're planning to do next week or something that you're planning to do in a fortnight. But these are 3 time durations of goals that you're supposed to always have. When somebody asks you what's your short-term goal, you should have an answer. When someone asks you what's your medium-term goal, you must have an answer. And someone's asking you a long-term goal, where do you want to see yourself 5 years or 6 years down the line, you must have an answer. So those are the 3 types of goals that we look at. So long-term goals are basically anything above 1 year or more. 1, 2, 5, 10, you can keep that range. And goals for the next 9 to 6 months or to about 3 months could be your short-term goals. Immediate goals are those that you're working in the next 1 week or in the next 15 to 20 days as such, right? So you must know what is that you have, right? So you should be able to write this now. Like for example, after I finish this presentation, you should be able to write, what is my immediate goal? What is that I'm going to work for the next 30 days? Do I have something that I'm working for the next week? Do I have something that I'm working for the next 15 days? Do I have something that I'm working for the next 30 days? Please write that down, right? 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and 1 year from now, I mean 9 months, right? So what is that you are planning to work on? Either a 3 months or a 6 months would be ideal, right? 3 months from now, what is that I want to achieve? 6 months from now, what is that I want to achieve? And then you can have your long-term goal. So where do I want to see myself 2 years from now? Where should I be seeing myself 5 years from now? And that should be good enough. Okay, so 3 types of goals that we all set. So how do we set our goals? Now coming to this question, what sort of goals do we set and how do we set these goals and where do we start from, right? So that's why we use this particular acronym called the FRAME. FRAME is a very interesting acronym that helps people to set their goals, right? It just means making sure that you're in the frame of your mind when it comes to setting your goals, right? So it's an acronym that I said. So F stands for something, R stands for something, A stands for something, M stands for something, and E stands for something else. So what is F? F stands for fantasizing. Okay, fantasizing is dreaming, right? So all of you have dreams. You imagine yourself being in some place, being in some position, or trying to achieve something. You aspire to be somebody else, right? So many things that you dream. So what is that you constantly keep dreaming about is something that you should also reflect, right? Dreaming is really good, but you must know what are those dreams that are constantly coming and what are those kind of dreams that you seem to consistently be having, right? So please write those dreams down. That's very important. That is what your mind wants, and that's what you should be going ahead and achieving. The second thing that you need to do is see how some of these dreams can become a reality. Fantasy is fiction. It can be like a fairy tale story where you see yourself in some non-reality kind of a scenario, right? It's good to dream, but see how you can convert your dreams into something that's realistic, something that can be a little concrete for you to achieve, something that's a little more tangible that you can connect with it and that you can achieve it. So see how you can convert that dream into a reality. Like for example, you say, I want to become rich and famous. So fantasy. I want to be like Warren Buffett, or I want to be like Jeff Bezos, or I want to be like any one of those favorite role models that you have. That's great, right? But how do you realistically see that taking action in your life? If I want to be rich, what am I going to do? Right? What should I be doing if I want to become rich? Right? I should study well, I should get a job, and I should be able to do well on my job. I should be able to work in some good company that pays me well. Right? So convert all of that, ask these questions, right? And these questions will slowly bring sense to you and bring you more closer to the reality. The third thing that you need to do is aim. So convert your dream into something more realistic and think a little more harder on the reality part on how are you going to achieve it, and then you will be able to define your goal. Very specifically, you will be able to write, this is what I want to achieve. So write your aim, and then how are you going to achieve that? So that's your method. Right? You must make a plan, right? Your aim is going to help you to set a goal. You're going to define a goal, but how are you going to achieve it is something where you have to make a plan. You have to have a schedule. You have to put a time frame, right? And if it is something that you cannot do it on your own, see how you can take help from others who can help you, right? That's the method. And the E stands for evaluation. As I said, you plan, you monitor, and then you evaluate. So you should always be able to check your progress. Periodically monitoring and checking your progress is very important, because you will get to know whether you're doing well with those targets, whether you have been fairly progressing or you are lagging behind, and whether you need to speed up your work, right? So all of this is very important. So once you are able to constantly evaluate, you are re-energizing yourself and you are helping yourself reset if in case there is a little lag in your progress, and then be able to pull yourself together so that you will be able to achieve what you have set as a goal. So that's frame for you, right? Fantasize, reality, aim, method, and evaluation. There's another acronym that we often use, which is called the SMART. That's what generally in management parlance we say, when you set goals, you must set SMART goals. So S stands for specific. Your goals must be specific, right? So that's the reality part in the frame. The goal must be specific. When you read that goal, you must understand it. When you tell this goal to somebody, they must be able to understand, right? S stands for specific. This M stands for measurable, right? Measurable is you must be able to quantify your goal. What is that I want to achieve? Within how many days would I want to achieve? When you say I want to become rich, how rich would you want to become? When I say I want to become famous, how famous would you want to become? So it must be measurable, right? That's important. A stands for action. So what are you going to do? How are you going to activate your goal? So when you set your goals must be something that you should be able to act upon. You should be able to implement. Then it must be realistic, right? It should not be like a daydream. It should not be like a foolhardy creation or an imagination which is impossible for anybody to think of or achieve, right? So it's going to be something very superficial. So let not your goals and your dreams be superficial. Make that more realistic. Make that more sensible. Make that more connected. Something that is possible only by you, right? That's realistic. And then lastly, make sure that you put a time frame to it. Because any goal and any plan that does not have a time frame, right, is like a rocket that is shooting off and doesn't know which destination it wants to reach or within what time it wants to reach. It's like a train that sets to run on the track but has no time as to when it wants to reach a destination. So anytime it reaches is good enough, right? So that shouldn't be the case for us. So when you set goals, make sure your goals are specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and put a time frame so that within which you can go ahead and achieve it. So let's come to this very interesting question. So we're also doing introspection simultaneously, just as the way we are discussing on goal setting and trying to see how we can accomplish, right? And some of you had these questions come up in your mind when we were reading those statements. Yes, we do set goals, but very often something goes wrong. We're unable to achieve, right? So what are the things that generally go wrong for us, or why is that we lose track of our eyes, or we lose track of the path that we are taking while we are going and accomplishing these goals? So when goal setting is disorganized, when there is absolutely no clarity, your goals are not specific, your goals are not, you haven't quantified it. What is that you want to achieve? You've not written that very specifically, or they may not be very realistic, right? Or you have separated, as this particular statement says, your personal goal or your personal life and your academic goal and your academic life is separated. So people who separate these are the ones who are unable to create a balance between work and life. And these are the people who are very struggling and they're very often stressed. They let go of one thing at the cost of another. They achieve academically or they do very well work-wise, but personally, they do not have time for themselves and their family. Or they end up becoming so very focused on their own life and the family and other responsibilities that very often they are unable to concentrate on their work. So professional life suffers. So when you set goals, you must make sure that your personal and your professional goals are tied up, so you're able to equally balance them. So many people aren't able to do that, and that's the reason why they are unable to accomplish their goals. When goals are unrealistic, it's very important. That's why, it's not just enough that you fantasize about your dream or your goal or your aspiration, it's also important that you think a little more and ask yourself this question: is this something that I can do? Is this something that I can achieve? Right? So when you're asking this realistic question, is it possible by me? Will I be able to achieve it within this particular time frame? Do I have the potential? Do I have the capability? So look at your strength and your weakness as an individual, and that will be able to help you to set a goal that is a little more realistic, a little more sensible, a little more clear when it comes to setting that to happen when you set that goal. So make sure that your goals are realistic. Goals that are beyond your control, right? For example, winning the lottery is definitely beyond your control, right? So there are two realms that we talk about generally, right? One realm is controllable realm, the other is the uncontrollable, right? So we also always need to keep these two variables or realms in mind, especially when we are doing goal setting. So when you set your goal, a lot of times achieving that goal doesn't depend on yourself alone. It depends on other factors. It depends on the environment. It depends on your family. It depends on financial support. It depends on other individuals who are part of your team or other individuals who are working. If your goal achievement is tied to other people contributing to the goal. So you've got to keep those factors also in mind, right? But if it is something that only you can achieve and it's completely under your control, it depends on your own competency, then you are absolutely in control. But if you feel that goal achievement depends on yourself as well as the rest of the other factors, on which you do not have control, then make sure that you balance and make sure that you set your goal a little more realistic. Okay, so remember this, because a lot of times achieving a goal depends on other things and other factors which are not in our control. When goals are vague, when you set goals that make no sense, or it's a nice statement, but no idea what it means. Like, for example, I want to become successful. I told you I want to become rich and famous. But how rich would you want to become? How much money should you quantify to say this? If I have this much amount of money and this is what's going to make me rich, right? So like that. So I want to talk. Like, for example, I told you I want to get a distinction in my subject. What is distinction? When you score 75 and above, that's distinction. So you set that mark there and say, I want to achieve 75% and above. That's distinction for you, or an A+ for you. So when you write it down like that, and if your goal is very specific and if your goal is very realistic, then there is no way that you will fail, right? It becomes a failure only when it is very abstract and it makes no sense to yourself and to anybody else to whom you are going and talking about your goal. Right. Another very popular reason why many people aren't able to set to achieve their goals is because they have too many goals. Right. When you have too many goals, you are losing focus. You have no idea which one to do. You're like a jack of all trades. You're unable to concentrate on which goal to work on. Right. It's nice that you can have many goals, but you must also have them in a time frame so that you know which goal is short term, which goal is medium term, and which goal is long term, so that you have a time span and you have paced it up so that you are able to accomplish one at a time, fully and mindful of what you are doing. So when you have multiple goals and you go on trying to keep setting goals, you will always lose track of knowing where and how to achieve it. Right. So that's precisely some very important popular reasons why and where people generally aren't able to keeping their goals. And so if you have introspected on some of those reasons and you know, okay, these are areas that I really need to work on, you must really work on that. Okay, so goal setting and goal achievement largely depends on resources, right? It depends on time, money, effort, three things. Time, money, and effort. So generally, these are the three things that are very often tied to goal setting and goal achievement. And most importantly, time. We've all heard of people saying that I'm really busy, I don't have time to do this, or I have just very little time and I need to accomplish it, right? So factor of time is very, very critical, right? Everybody has those same number of hours that anybody else in this world has, right? If we look at some people seem to be in control of things. They seem to be managing their life well, right? And we ask them, what makes you to manage life so well? You often seem very in control of things. You seem to be a person who's a little more contented and composed. You don't get very stressed out. So one reason that they'll tell you is I manage time very well. You understand? So managing your time is akin to managing your life. So if you want to manage life, make sure that you manage time. So that's what Alan Lakin says. So if you want to set goals and if you want to accomplish that perfectly and you want to stay contented with what you're doing and you feel very happy and you feel that you are in control of what you're doing, that's precisely the answer. You would have managed your time really well. So let's look at some strategies that we can use in order to know how to do it, right? So we all have a lot of tasks to do. So that's the point. We all have this task. That's what keeps us telling everybody all the time that I'm busy and I have so many things to do. But have you prioritized these tasks? Prioritizing your tasks are very important because not every task needs your immediate attention. That's what you need to remember. And not every task requires you to do it immediately right now. You understand? So some tasks are not important. Some tasks are not urgent. So we should be able to prioritize our tasks on these two parameters. One parameter is important, the other parameter is urgent. And if you're able to classify and assign these tasks into those quadrants into which it falls, then you automatically know how to go ahead and accomplish it. So two things that I told you. Now, this is something that I've taken from Stephen Covey's, one of the tools of better time management and better organization. Okay, so when you have multiple things, like you have, let's say, for example, you have about 10 things. Okay, maybe after the session you can do that. So what are those 10 or 12 things? So whatever comes to your mind that you want to do it, please write it down, right? Let's say, for example, I have a small notebook that I carry and I have a list of things that I often write, right? So I write these things. Let's say, for example, let me read, or I have this wonderful app now. It's called, it's just a notepad that I use, right? So I just have something that I write all the time. Let's say, for example, yeah, I have something like this, like third trimester question paper, MBA timetable, invigilation diary, third trimester, design thinking, SRM presentation, Sri Lanka, finalize internal marks, split section A and B. I have that on my screen. I'm showing that to you, right? So I've written this down. These are the set of things. So I have 8 things that I had to do, which I'd written this yesterday, 8 things. When I look at all of the 8 of these things, these are going to be really overwhelming. Oh my God, I've got 8 things to do. That's how I'm going to respond, right? Now I'm going to look at this third trimester question paper. I'm going to look at these 4 quadrants. Should I do it right now, or should I plan to do it, or should I resist it, giving it high priority, or should I, postpone it for some other time, like that? So is it urgent, and is it very important? But if it's very urgent, very important, I will do it right now, right? But if it's very important, but it's not urgent, which means I have the time to do it, which means I can do this 2 days from now or maybe 3 days from now. It's important, but not something that is expected of me immediately. So I can maybe do it tomorrow, or I can maybe do it 3 days later. High urgency, but low importance. Yeah, it's important. It's very immediate. Somebody is waiting for that work to be done, right? But it's not that very important. So I can still decide whether I want to give it some priority or not. Something that is not important and not urgent. Now that is something that I can always do it when I'm free. Only when I think I have nothing to do, that's when I can actually go and do that. Because it's not very important, it's not very urgent as well. So I'm only going to be looking at the 1, 2, 3 categories. So any activity or any task, I should be able to assign them into any of these 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3 is what I will look for. I will do it only maybe on a weekend, or only when I have nothing to do and I've completed everything. And I think, okay, now I can go and take a look at it. So it's a very simple quadrant, right? High urgency, high importance, low urgency, low importance. Make these 4 quadrants, and then any task and any activity that you get, you can always put that into it. So let's look at some time management strategies. So very important, you should be able to prioritize your task. Is it urgent? Is it important? Right? So like that, you prioritize, be specific about these activities. And then if there is something that's very big and you find it very difficult to do it, break that into smaller doable parts. Break that into smaller subcomponents, and then you should be able to do that. Use all the available time. This is very important because time is very precious, and you say 30 minutes is what I have. Make sure that you spend all your 30 minutes, right? So when you devote to do something, make sure that you're fully concentrating, you're fully able to involve yourself, and you're able to utilize every minute of time that is spent, right? Very important, have a plan, right? So when you set out to do something without a plan, that's when it's disastrous, because you start doing different things in different ways. So make a plan, think about it. Maybe about 5-6 minutes you can always take to see, okay, this is the task at hand. Where am I going to start? Right? What should I do? Do I have the materials that I need? Right? So everything that you plan and you are mentally prepared, then you do it. So the things that you want to use as a resource is available with you. You're mentally also prepared, and you have a kind of a flow chart or a plan that will help you to also know when to do what, and you do that in a systematic step-by-step manner, right? So you can do that and establish a routine. If it is something that keeps occurring quite often, establish a routine so that you know at what time of the day and when you can do it. So you set up a timetable or a schedule, right? So that is always going to be your time when you will be doing something else, something of this particular nature, right? So planning and scheduling it is very, very important, especially if you want to manage your time, right? And then you can always use a diary. I use the small book that I use. So anytime I'm thinking of something, I immediately write it down, right? Or you have these lovely apps today that are available, which is more like a planner. You can use any of those things. To-do list is a very simple thing that you can always write down. So instead of trying to remember everything, it may not be possible. You can write it down. Okay, this is something I should do it today. This is something I should do it next week, right? So you can do that, and all of that will help you to do that, right? And have a good timetable, have a good schedule sheet, and then always find some time for relaxation as well, because when you relax and rejuvenate, you can always come back and put more effort and more time in what you are accomplishing. And always don't forget to monitor, evaluate, and reward yourself, right? So like, for example, if you completed your work, spend that time, right? If, like, for example, you set 60 minutes for doing a particular task, and if you've been able to do that in 40 minutes, the remaining time is yours, right? So when you push yourself, strive, and you accomplish that work and you finish it within that time, reward yourself. The 10-12 minutes is something that you can always relax and feel happy that you did it within time. So these are small things that you can do for yourself to get that psychological kick or something. So always have a diary, write everything that you want, dates, meeting, lectures, timetable. Also have some time for social gatherings, interaction, maybe WhatsApp time or maybe television time, right? So you can, or time for relaxation and times for Instagram. So you can always do things like that. So that's good. So all of these are some free tools. A lot of tools are available today. So you can always download. A lot of apps are available. You can make some use of all of these templates. So all of this is just an example of someone's written a timetable. So that's pretty good at how we can schedule. So we know what to do at different points of time, right? So coming to the last few parts, right? So very often when we set goals, we are unable to achieve them. The reason is because we are very distracted. We set out to do something, but somewhere we lose course of the action, or we end up getting distracted. So look for these distractions and procrastinators, because these are your spoilers. These are the spoilers of the big game, right? So one is emails, right? Now this is not very important for you right now, because except for those emails that you get from college, there's nothing much that you get. But once you get into a workspace, everything is going to be on emails. So sometimes what happens is you have this distraction of you opening this email window, and then you see something and you continue to communicate without checking whether replying to that email is very important right now or not. Or you can go on checking all those emails that are there in the inboxes, and that could take away a lot of time. Phone calls and texts, I'm sure this is going to be number one on that list of being the biggest distractors, right? When you're doing something, there is a phone call that comes, and then you take that call and the conversation goes on for 45 minutes. Or somebody sends a text and then immediately you reply and the texting goes on, right? So now biggest distractors that we find in today's time is your mobile phone. Facebook, Twitter, Weibo, Instagram, all of those numerous social networking apps are also big distractors. Surfing on the net or browsing, a very common distraction that we see. Computer games, television, food and drink, or just going out, pastime, conversation, chatting, right? Tiding, I don't think so falls into a majority of our students' list. But if you are somebody who's very obsessed with housework, and if you're doing something all the time, right? So that could also be possible. You could also include a hobby over here. Some people get overindulgent in their hobbies, so that could be there. Or maybe overindulgent with your pet, that could be there. And people genuinely committed with family if they have to take up some household chores as well at home, helping your dad and mom because no one's there at home. So this could be also some areas that could take away or become keep you distracted. Okay, procrastination is postponing things, right? What you're supposed to do when time comes for you to do it, but you say, let me do it tomorrow, let me take 10 minutes and I'll do that later. So when you postpone work or when you procrastinate and you want to put that for another day, those are your biggest spoilers. So let's look at some classic patterns of procrastinators that we generally come across. One is a perfectionist, focused on excellence at the expense of getting tasks completed on time. No, you could be somebody like this. Please remember this. A lot of times you set goals, but you're unable to achieve it is because whatever you're doing, you want to do it perfectly. And in that melee, what is happening is you are putting more time, more effort than what is exactly required, right? So sometimes being a perfectionist also can take away the time of yours and not letting you to accomplish your task. Second is postponer. Somebody who always finds excuses to push things ahead or postpone. Oh, is it on Wednesday? So let us look at that on Monday. Today is just Thursday. Why bother about something? Right? So focused on having fun. So let's have fun right now and let's postpone about it because it's not Wednesday as yet. Right? Politician focused on social commitments. Somebody who has time for everything else except for themselves and give the least importance or priority to their own jobs and their own tasks and their own goals. So people who are generally, very focused on building friendship, building network, and spend more time. Yeah, they could be that politician kind. And then finally, punisher is focused on own perceived shortcomings and failures. Somebody who is often blaming themselves as somebody who's living in some self-pity and say, I am somebody who will never be able to do it, or I am somebody who will never do it. You have some sort of a complex that makes you put yourself much lower than what you can possibly achieve. So some of these are our own characteristics, or this could be our personality. We could be like the perfectionist, we could be like the postponer, we could be like the politician, or we could be like the punisher, who's basically trying to see how, you have your own reasons as to why you don't achieve goals. Okay. So finally, we're coming to the last part. So what can you do in order to be more focused? So first and foremost, find out what are those big distractors. Sit and introspect. I wanted to do something. Where did I lose time? Why was I not able to complete that particular task? Right? Look for those distractions or reasons that have occurred quite often. So those are your big distractors. It could be your mobile phone, it could be your friends, it could be your family, right? Or it could be you choosing a wrong time, right? So all of this could be there. Secondly, don't multitask, right? Because multitask is basically making you jack of all trades, but you don't accomplish anything. So it's always better that you prioritize, right? When you have multiple tasks, don't put all of that together in the same basket and get to do all of that simultaneously. Try to prioritize. As I've given you that 4 quadrant, use those 4 quadrants and that will help you to prioritize and not let you to multitask. Second, very importantly, align your goals with your core values. It's very, very important. Who you are as a person is what you should always try to do with respect to your goals and achieving it. Right? Don't do anything contrary to what your conscience asks you to do or permits you to do. Okay, you might achieve a goal, but if you use shortcuts or wrong methods, or if you've done something against your conscience, that is not worth you achieving that particular goal. So please remember, stay to your core and always make sure that you stick to integrity and get the important things out first. So when you prioritize, you will find out what is very urgent, very important. Those are the first few things you should do when you begin your day. Very urgent, very important. Those are the first few tasks, maybe 1 or 2 tasks that you have. Do that immediately and get that out of your way, and then go ahead and do something else that is important, that's urgent and not so important like that. So review your goals daily. At the end of the day, look at your checklist and put a tick and see how many goals have you accomplished, how many tasks have you completed, and do momentum management, right? So what is momentum management? Sometimes what happens is there can be a lull, or there can be a little tiredness, or you might say, okay, I've been trying very hard, so let me just take a break. Let me not do it today. Let me do it tomorrow. Sometimes what happens is when you set some goals and when you set resolutions, a little bit of lull can creep in, a little bit of tiredness can creep in. But don't let that to take the better of you, because you might postpone it for one day, it can get postponed for another day, and then you slowly start losing the rhythm of doing it. And that's exactly what happens to many people who have some health goals and keep some New Year resolutions. They lose momentum, right? Right after the first week, they lose momentum. So that's what happens. So don't allow this to take that focus away from you. Use a planner and keep track of your progress and break down your goals into smaller parts. It's always important that when you see something that's very big and you feel that how am I going to do it, break that down into smaller doable parts or into sub plans, and that can help you to achieve things a little more easily than what you thought. And very importantly, practice focusing. This is what we call as mindfulness. When you do something, make sure that you put your heart and your mind and your complete self into it, and do not get distracted no matter what happens around you. Sit, focus, complete it. When you complete it, you feel that joy, and then you can always get that extra time as a reward, and you can always pat yourself and say, wow, you did that well within time. And then very importantly, find an accountability partner. So always share your goals with your friends, family, and anybody that you think cares for you, and tell them these are my goals, so that they could often keep coming and asking you, so that they will be able to ask you about what have you done with your goals and how well are you doing. So that accountability partner is very important. Somebody who can constantly remind you and tell you this is something that you should be doing or what has happened. So just somebody asking you about that itself is a reminder that, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing that. So next time if this person asks me, what am I going to say? So I should have something positive to say. Right? And always make sure that your accountability partner is somebody who can praise you, somebody who can give you some good feedback, and somebody who can also possibly reward you. That will also be a good thing to keep that momentum helping and going and keeping you motivated. Last of all, out of that 10, the 11th one is very important. When do you get more time and when can you do more things is only when you get up early. Okay, so put a timetable, have a time when you start your day, and then finish, put some time for all your daily chores. Make sure that you have enough time for your own physical health and physical fitness, and then also some time for your mental space, right? Listen to some good music, start the day with on a positive note with some positive attitude, and then get going, right? So when you have some goals and when you know what exactly you want to do and how you want to keep yourself occupied throughout the day, you have everything in place, and that's when you'll be in cruise control. You will be absolutely in control over everything that you're doing, right? So that's what you should be doing. So get up early, stay focused, and get going and be organized, right? So finally, I'm summing it up. There were 3 parts that I was talking about. One is on the importance of goal setting, and then what you should do in order to set goals, and then how do you get organized in terms of resources and time as one important resource that I I just picked up. And then finally on how you can stay focused and what is that you can do in order to stay focused. So 11 points that can help you. So plan, monitor, and evaluate, and see how you can manage yourself and your time. Use the frame, and the SMART goal framework. So you can use the frame acronym or the SMART acronym and then set your goals. Use your time management system very effectively. If you are able to manage time, you will obviously be able to manage everything. And then look for those distractors. Write down all those areas that you think are the distractors and all those excuses that you often give to procrastinate or to postpone. Write it down and see how you can beat that out of the list. And then finally, be organized and stay focused. And if you're able to do that, you will always be able to maintain a good balance between your heart and mind, as well as your physical and your mental self, as well as your personal and your professional or your academic work. So if you're able to do that, that's a way ahead for you to go and be very successful. Okay, thank you. I come to the end of this presentation on goal setting, being organized, and being focused. So thank you very much. And if you have some nice questions, I would be very happy to hear them and possibly also hear one or two responses or maybe some accomplishments. If you're a very good goal setter, you've done something, and if you have a strategy to share. If time permits, maybe we can take about 2 or 3 minutes. So that should be another 3 minutes to 3:30. Is that okay on time?
Yes, sir, very much on time.
Okay. So what should I do if I have only 3 months to live? That's great. So everything is important. Everything is very urgent for you. If you just got 3 months to live. I hope that was just a question and not a very serious question. Okay, so everything is very important. Everything is very urgent. But within that 3 months, not everything is going to become important and urgent for you. You can still prioritize, because 3 months is 90 days, and that's a fairly long period of time. Anybody else? Any other question? Any area that you seem to be struggling with? Thank you, Himanshu. Is that was that Himanshu Kumar? Yeah. Anybody else? Anything else you want to share? Probably ask. Sir, I think laziness is a major issue. Yes, very much, and it's a very personal issue, right? So if you are aware of laziness being that biggest distractor and procrastination, you must be able to see how to overcome that. And the moment you start setting goals and then putting a schedule in place, automatically laziness will go away, because you're staying focused with what you want to do. So get started, and then the laziness will go away. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm really thankful for the time, and to all of you, faculty and the students, for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful session. I hope that your words bring significant impact on the professional and personal lives of the Jayantians present here. The heart that gives thanks is a happy one, for we cannot feel unhappy and thankful at the same time. I now welcome Ms. Neha Sunil, BSc Life Sciences, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Students, please fill the feedback form which is shared in the chat box. Yeah, over to Neha.
Majority of the youth today are perplexed about how to proceed on their personal, educational, and family life in an organized manner. Fortunately, we had the wonderful opportunity to be a part of this informative session on goal setting. It's my privilege to extend our sincere gratitude to Prof.Stephen Deepak, Kristu Jayanti School of Management, for your extraordinary motivational session. Sir, your innovative talk has enlightened the vision of young generation on how to set goals for a brighter future and become successful in academic and social life. On behalf of the entire Kristu Jayanti family, I would like to extend a very hearty thanks to you, sir.
Thank you.
As you all know, Professor Stephen is an eminent personality in research areas like HR marketing, entrepreneurship, etc. We are fortunate enough to have a wonderful person like you in our family. I'm very confident that the second year UG students have benefited from this session. Next, I would like to extend our gratitude to our beloved principal, Reverend Father Dr. Augustine George, for providing his continuous encouragement and support to all of us. Thank you, Father. I would also like to thank all the faculty members, especially Dr. Rupa for being the moderator and all other members of the faculty for their fruitful and successful organization. Accept your past without regrets, handle your present with confidence, and face your future without fear. With these words in mind, I would like to conclude my word of thanks.
Thank you, Neha. With this, we come to the end of the interactive session. Now, I request everyone to turn on their videos for the virtual photograph. Participants, please note, the feedback form is now released in the chat box. You are requested to fill and submit it. Thank you all once again for attending this session and have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
I request the host to end the meeting.